Hello, everyone. It is Wednesday for our WikiTree Challenge Day. It's great. How's everybody doing this evening? Or I think I saw some people saying that it's 2 a.m. where they are, probably afternoon. I just hope everyone's doing great. We have the screen looks full. We got a full house. So just to introduce everybody who's here, myself and then Julie, who's in the opposite corner of me, we are WikiTree team members. Then right next to me, we have Ellen, who we are working on this week, and we're about to give her all the juicy details of what we have found. Then next to Ellen, we have Mindy, who is our WikiTree Challenge coordinator. Under me, we have Lucy. She is Ellen's team captain. And then we have Christine, who is our next week's guest stars captain, Tim Janzen, who doesn't seem like he's going to make it this evening, but he might pop in, who knows? And that's all of us. And we thank you for watching. And for those of you who might have popped in, maybe you heard about something on Twitter or Facebook, or you heard something from Ellen or from Tim or somebody, but you have no idea what WikiTree is. We can definitely tell you what it is, and Julie, our wonderful Julie, will do that for you.
Well, I would be happy to do that. WikiTree is a community, mostly, that's how we think of it, of genealogists, and we all work together on a single family tree. Unlike a lot of other genealogy sites where you build your tree and then I build my tree and we have the same ancestor but we never talk to each other, on WikiTree we work together on that same common ancestor, and we share information, we find sources together. Well, we don't have to find sources together, but and we resolve discrepancies. In other words, we collaborate, and we're growing a single family tree as accurately as we can that connects us all. And I always say that my favorite part about WikiTree is that it's entirely free. You heard that right, folks. It's free.
I love free. Free is my favorite.
I like free.
Free's good.
It is good. So then so now you know what WikiTree is. Then our WikiTree Challenge. The WikiTree Challenge is our year-long event where each week a team of WikiTreeers gets together and takes on a genealogy guest star's tree and makes it more accurate and complete than it is anywhere else. For instance, this past week, we've been working on Ellen's tree, and we've found a lot of stuff, and we will get to that very, very soon. But, cool. And the next week we're working on Tim. So pretty much each week, we do have some rest weeks, but for the most part, every week we have a different genealogy guest star. And this challenge is part of our year-long event, A Year of Accuracy, where our goal is to improve our accuracy on WikiTree, make more connections, and friends. And we've made lots of friends. So let's continue on to the next part of our life.
And talk about what we do with those friends and how we meet them.
Yes. I love meeting new friends.
It has been great. We've had a lot of people working with different people. Collaborating within this challenge has been a lot of fun. We have on the left, you see a spreadsheet, and that's where we put the profile we're working on at that time. Because when you wind up with 30, 40, sometimes 50 genealogists in there working, we don't want to all be stepping on the same 3 profiles. So we do that to keep track of it. On the right, there's always a G2G post for the week for the guest. We post in there brick walls that we've broken down, sometimes little interesting facts or questions. That's there for the guest to look at later on, as well as for us to read through and see, what people are working on. And then Discord. Oh, we just couldn't do this without Discord. It gets hopping in there. We get busy. Now, this is our live chat that we use. And, here we can go and we can talk to each other. We can say, hey, I need a second set of eyes on this record. people will they're just there, at your disposal. I need a translation, or I'm really horrible at writing narrative for biographies, but I put a ton of sources on that profile. Can somebody do that? And there's somebody that likes to write narrative that can come in and help. So a lot goes on, a lot of collaboration goes on in Discord.
Yes. And then we have thank you to our captains.
Yes, and we could never do this without our hardworking captains. They do a lot behind the scenes to keep things going. They make sure people are motivated, answer questions for our participants, and they just all around do a great job. We couldn't do it without them. And these are our scores at this time for the captains. So this means the scores that their team got during their week. We keep adding those up. And this is just in the order that they appear, not by score. So Mindy, that'd be me, and my co-captain Cheryl have a total of 915 points so far. Azure has 616. Sarah Mason has 814. Joan and Janet co-captain together, they have 899. Emma Macbeth is in the lead with 1,397 total points. Lucy has 143. Christine has 380. And I want to tell you, on the last ones, they're lower because they haven't had their second week yet. So yeah, those scores will go up, but they haven't had another week to add the totals in.
Mm-hmm. And then just to reiterate, well, yes, thank you for all of our captains, but while we are counting points are not our goal, right? We are looking for accuracy, but this is always nice to see. It also depended on, some weeks we had more difficult trees where, our guest stars had thoroughly worked on their trees, so weren't as many brick walls to break. Well, we had others where they didn't dabble as much on their tree. Yeah, so it just depended on the week and our guest star.
We had a guest that had one brick wall broken.
Mm-hmm, that was Judy. Yeah, Judy's week. We only had one, but we thank all of our captains. Mindy, thank you, Captain. Christine, Lucy, if there are any captains watching, thank you. You guys are amazing. And Mindy, do you want to kind of explain how they even getting points? I don't know.
Yes, I will. There are two ways for our team members to get points. And like Sarah said, it's not about the points, but we are human. And there's nothing like a little bit of a challenge going to motivate people. So for each brick wall that's broken down, our participants get 10 points. So if they find 2 brand new parents, that's 20 points. Now, the other way they can get it is they get single points for adding nuclear relatives. So children or siblings of the direct line ancestors, they get 1 point each. And those really add up. They really do. And we like that whole family approach anyways, where you can see the records and what was going on with the entire family, not just the direct line.
And those are the points. So, and then we have our top 5.
These are our top 5, and I have to say we have some upsets that this last day or so, just meaning that it was kind of set at the top 5, and then a few things changed, and then it kind of leveled out again, and people came in at the end. So I would like to give a little kudos to Elizabeth Viney, who, can we go back to that?
Oh, sorry.
Elizabeth Viney, who was in first place for quite a while there, and Maddie once again stormed right past and took her over. So Maddie is our MVP, most valuable player. She got the most points this week. Then it was Elizabeth. We had Carol Keeling on the board this week, Donna Bauman on the board this week, and Frank Yatsik. So that was exciting. Congratulations, guys. You did an awesome
technically,
job.
Mindy was 4th place, I believe, and we just took Mindy's.
Did I jump up again?
Yeah, you did. When I was just checking.
We're going to leave it how it is. I was actually in 5th place for a long time, and I finally said, I'm going to give out brownie points and virtual brownies to whoever can knock me out of that 5th slot. And so they did.
Yeah.
It was great.
Wow. It was, it's a great job. Aowen's in the top 10. Go Aowen.
Wow.
And then we have Eve. I saw Eve. I think she's in the she's watching. And I think she said it was 2 a.m. for her.
Right. And
Yeah.
Eve was just amazing this week. She just really was incredible.
Yeah.
Well, thank you to everybody.
So do we want to kind of, so since we have the stats open,
Yep, let's go ahead and read those over. So now that you know how the points have been given, the total points for Lucy's team this week is 802. So that's including everything. Now what that includes is there are 126 direct ancestors added, which is just incredible.
Wow.
Created relatives, those, the nuclear family members, and we're not talking about cousins or aunts or uncles. We're talking about those close relatives, 336 people. Now, I know some of those were already on your tree, Ellen, but you're going to be surprised when you get out there and see how many weren't on your tree. We had 340 bounty points given out, which means 34 brick wall ancestors. Wow. Yeah, it was impressive. Unique profiles edited, 770. And that means anybody that did a contribution, they did a birth date, they added a source, whatever they did to it, that's an edit. And so the total edit in 1 week's time was 3,826. The power of WikiTree. Yeah, it's just incredible.
And that's only really counting the nuclear relatives. Somebody was working on a branch that maybe didn't count, or like doing other side work. That's not really counting those numbers. I know our WikiTreeers always go above and beyond and are expanding on all those little nooks and crannies.
Yes, they do. They just never fail to amaze me.
Mm-hmm. So this is we started with this kind of, well, this is not where we started off, but we were working off your great grandparents, and then we'll start with one of your ones that you wanted. We attempted.
Yeah, I know, and he's a tough guy.
Mm-hmm. Do we want to? I know that a lot of research was done on this. I don't know if Mindy or Lucy, you want to?
Well, and I know that Emma said they got closer. She said she thinks it's figured out, and I can see by Ellen's nodding head that yes, she agrees. But we're not going to release a name or anything because 100% needs to be there on this one, just because it is such a huge mystery, But I also don't expect Emma to unravel mystery that's been hanging around this long in a week. So she's still going to keep working on it, and Ellen, we hope to be able to get that to you soon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Oh,
yeah, I mean, I've been working on it for a long time. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know you have. Now, this is William Bailey and Catherine Dennis. We had Mary Bailey gain these new parents, William Bailey and Catherine. Catherine's father was a William Dennis. William and Catherine had 6 children, so not a lot on that line, but there was something. We also had a Thomas Benson on that line. He gained a parent. Now, this one you had married to an Esther Wilkins. Do you remember that name, Ellen? There was a lot of research went into this, and it turns out that he didn't marry an Esther Wilkins. So we have him. We'll come to that. We have him with somebody else.
Henry West.
Right, and he married Barbara Harmon. He had the children Mary, Emma, Henry, Hannah, Caroline. When Barbara died, Hannah became the woman of the house. Now, this we weren't sure if you knew, that without the accompanying marriage, she became the woman of the house. And they had children, Elizabeth, James, and John Allen. Henry was a yard man at a timber yard.
Okay. No.
But there was no marriage for that second one.
Okay.
For expanded the Ward line a little bit by one generation.
I know. Oh, because I was still trying to figure out where Robert Clark was, but that's okay. We're going to come to him in a bit anyways. And I kept laughing and saying, because all the roads lead back to Robert Clark, and you'll see why soon. Samuel Ward, parents were found for him, Joshua Ward and Mary Pearson Ward. Samuel and his wife had 11 children. His parents, Joshua and Mary, had 7 children. And Joshua was a laborer by trade. So, these families you have were pretty big. I noticed going through these branches. They were,
it starts when you start getting all the extra people. It gets difficult.
Mm-hmm. And then we had Alice, sorry, that's it, Alice Sykes, so the Sykes line. She gained Elizabeth Betty Gentle. Alice's father gained new parents. So the mother you didn't have, you have the father's name, but you didn't have the mother, and that one was determined to be the Elizabeth Gentle. And then Richard gained new parents, though, George Sykes and Ann Cowper Sykes. Richard and Betty had at least 18 children baptized at Rockcliffe. The amount of siblings is currently unknown because they still didn't get all the research done. But can you imagine just the strength of these women to have 18 children and just keep going?
And you can see in the how many kids was her siblings, and then how many kids she had too, Alice. Just from here. Mm-hmm.
Wow. No, I never knew anything about them.
We have, is that Phoenix?
That's Phoenix. And this was, I have to say, after several days of intense research, I know, because we had one of our most prolific and really experienced researchers working on this. And she was just, she just kept digging into it to make sure that she could confirm this. But it took a lot. It took a lot. So this wasn't one of those sets of parents that were really easy to find. The records didn't automatically point to it. It took a lot of negative evidence, a lot of looking at other, every different type of record in there. And I mean, just this one person was focused on for days. So that was really a big deal to get parents for Ellen.
I've seen the Fox name and the Phoenix name too. In the DNA matches, it's I've seen.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, now here were the Robert Clarks, and I know I was getting a little silly the one day, but I kept I'd work on the Clarks a little bit, and then I'd kind of go off, and somebody would go, oh hey, let's look at this, and we'd start working on it, and somebody else would go work on the Clarks, and it just seemed like no matter what I did, when I'd start looking through the record sets, I'd wind up back on the Clarks. I go, oh, I'm going to look at these parish register for these other ancestors, right? So and so help me. We're going to look through these, and they're like, yeah, there's stuff for the Clarks in here, and I wind up back on the Clarks, and I was like, oh, another Robert. Oh wait, we have another Robert Clark, and guess what? His father's name is Robert.
Robert Clark.
And then
I know
we finally hit a William, so I was really excited to hit William Clark. I mean, that was like a big deal. My mother-in-law was like, I'm going to tell them to boot you out of the Discord room if they catch you working on the Clarks again. I said, but all the roads lead back to the Clarks.
Yeah,
so,
no kidding.
And then what was interesting to me, and I think we have another slide for this, don't we, Sarah?
Mm-hmm.
This one. What was interesting to me, and I know you gave us a wonderful picture to post of them. And do you know what wound up happening, though, with the Clark fish store?
No, not exactly, no.
But, and one of the things we tried to find for you were interesting things to bring the person alive. That's one of the things I really like about WikiTree is, your research logs are right there between notes and the change logs. And you can really go in depth explaining what the records show you about the person's life. But as we're doing this occupation, I find out the one is a fishmonger, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. He's a fishmonger. And the person I'm researching with is like, what's a fishmonger? That's kind of a funny name. And I said, well, that's because we don't call them that anymore. But, no. And then you go up the line, and he was a fishmonger until he got to like retirement age. And then he was a fruit hawker. I said, yeah, we don't use that one either anymore. So then I got interested. I'm like, how many fishmongers am I going to find in this line? So where you see the images there of the fish, it was the youngest Robert Clark, of course, was a fishmonger. 3 of his sons were fishmongers, Robert, Noah, and William. One of them was a painter. And, I found it interesting that Alice's husband was a farmer, because if you go out to the later generations now, Robert was a fishmonger. Behind him, Robert was a fishmonger and a fruit hawker. And behind him on the Clark line, that Robert was a farmer. Wow. So I went, I wonder where the fishmongering came from. Well, guess where? It was over on the father-in-law, was a fishmonger, and he was also a hawker of not necessarily just fruit, but other things. So it was just kind of interesting that it still stayed within the family, and it just kept being passed down for generations.
When I went to Brighton, one of my cousins was like, so, you know, we come from a long line of fishmongers. So yeah, this is cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can say yes, and I know exactly where they are now.
Mm-hmm.
Right there, follow the trail.
Follow the fish trail.
Follow the fish trail, yes.
So the yellow brick road, the fish trail road. I'm done.
I love finding the occupations. It's sad when you don't get to, you know, if there's no census records, sometimes you don't get that information. This was great when they put them in the actual baptisms or marriages, what they were. So here we have the Cotman line, and now we're kind of getting into that part of the tree. You know, that's a little bit harder. There's German records. They have different, you know, naming conventions. And then also one of the things we found out getting into these lines, and I don't know if you knew that there were some from the Netherlands.
Yeah, I knew that one of my great great grandmothers was.
Yeah, so this was a lot of fun. All of the ones that you see in orange there for on the Cotman line, all of those are new ancestors. You know, just different people working on them. We do have a couple of German experts that jump in and work on these lines. So, you know, they can read those records for us that we can't read. I can't read German. I don't know about you.
No, Frank was sending me some stuff a couple weeks before, and yeah, no, I can barely read the handwriting, let alone not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I think
even
Frank
Google
was.
it.
Translate.
Yeah, I think Frank was the one who did most of these, pretty much all of these lines, right? Frank was the one who.
He actually worked hand in hand with Eve a lot this week.
Eve too. Okay, cool.
Dee usually does a lot of the German, and he did step in the last day and do a few German profiles, but he was absent most of the week for other things. So yeah, Frank and Eve did a lot of really good work on these lines.
Awesome. Did we want to look at this profile, or
You can, yeah.
Let's do it.
Hop on over there.
We have a little picture too for Heinrich.
I have an uncle that looks exactly like him.
It's always cool to see like pictures of ancestors like a few generations back and finding someone currently living that looks like them. That's always cool to see. Now this is his profile. Very long, nicely written biography.
I'll spend some time reading it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I know he was a baker.
Ooh, does it say that here somewhere? Maybe.
It probably does. I don't know. They had a lot of information for that, so that was really cool. You're going to get to do a lot of reading, Ellen.
Yeah.
It says a confectioner.
Okay.
So yes.
Well, I heard he was a baker, and then he came on the rail and landed in Lethbridge, and then all the family followed. It was like the migration of the wildebeest. They were always following.
Very cool. And I'm not logged in, so that's why we're seeing ads on WikiTree at the moment.
Oh. See how you are.
And then we have some more Cotman or Luxembourg.
And this was a line where more of the Netherlands came into play. So there were 9 new direct ancestors and countless number of children added into this section. Once again, Eve was it was invaluable this week in working on those, and it was really great.
She wanted to point out that at this time frame,
that it was, yeah.
Oh, sorry. She wanted to point out that in this time frame, it wasn't called the Netherlands. It was the Duchy, and I'm going to try Jülich. Does that sound?
And that's me being uninformed. But I know that one of the other participants did talk to Eve a lot about the changes in locations. And Ellen, you'll get a link to the space page also, but it gives the breakdown for that area very specifically on what it was called during the different times. So,
right. Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, because I have one son, Jason, and he's hoping that once things are better in the world, that he can go to Germany, and he I think he's watching tonight. So.
Ooh. And then I think we have another one, just an expansion on that. Even more.
Right.
So many.
There were just a lot of ancestors added in this line.
Yeah, that's way more than I ever knew.
This is where most of our brick walls came from, on the German, Dutch, Netherlands line.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, once you see the chart, you'll see where it's really clustered there. People looked in other places, but this was really intense research.
The next slide. Mindy's brick wall slide she always makes with the bees.
I know, and you're gonna get a copy of this too, just so that you can look at all of these and a list of what they are. But each one of those yellow colored in areas is where there is a brick wall that we could break down. That's a possibility for us to break down. So everywhere you see the bees, the little dots floating around in there, we broke that brick wall down. And if you look way to the right, you see, of course, that's where that cluster of brick wall ancestors. But that didn't stop us from breaking down brick walls over on the rest of the tree also. There are a few C's, and that's a correction made. Now, like for where you have the Esther Wilkins, when we find the correct wife, they still got points for it, but it's considered a correction, not breaking down a brick wall. Kind of the same thing, but yeah, we just like to differentiate that so that was a change that we made, not just a brand new person.
Oh, okay.
And that'll help you track down what you want to go snoop and look at later.
Yeah.
So that was 37, right? Did I get 37 brick walls?
34.
34. I added.
We had 34. And did we have, Sarah, did we have the link for the Sean Law profile?
I believe, which one?
Let me see if it's on Interesting Finds.
We have Robert Clark's profile, which all the fishmongering.
I know, where I kept winding up.
We should make a sticker. We should make a sticker for fishmongering. And we add it to all the profiles. Is this? Oh, this is a picture of a fishmonger.
Of a fishmonger.
Yeah.
I actually have a picture of Robert's shop that I found on the internet at one point.
That's
cool. Wow.
And then I have Hugh Murphy's line open. I guess the Phoenix. So.
Well, at any rate, when you get to it, you'll see it and you'll know what it is. It just was emphasizing how sad it was, and it was a common thing, especially in Prussia or areas of Germany or whatever it was called, during that time, for these people to have large families, and a lot of the children didn't live. So you find that they've had 13, 14 children, and 5 or 6 of those have died young, and it's just incredible.
Yeah. I don't know how mothers can deal with that. Well, I mean, fathers too, but
Yeah, I mean, I just couldn't even imagine. I just couldn't even imagine.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Our WikiTreeers did great and broke down. Christine, was there a line you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I was I was focused in on all of the Ontario profiles because I love getting into that. That's where I focus all my research. So if we go to Maria Cotman, who is
I can open that up.
Mary Beaton's mother, she had a sister, Gertrude, and Gertrude married a gentleman by the name of Peter Copps. And if you're from Ontario, you know the Copps family. So I was like, they have to be connected. So I went digging. Peter Copps, so Gertrude's husband, was the son of Michael Copps and Ellen Mannion. Peter's sister, he also had a sister by the name of Ellen, and sometimes she went by Nellie. She had a son named William in 1888, illegitimately. There was no father listed on the birth record, and I couldn't find a baptism for him either. But he remained in the family, and she never married, and he grew up with family. He was with his grandparents in one of the censuses, and he eventually got married himself and had some children. Unfortunately, he died young at the age of 40 from an abscess. He died in Toronto at the hospital. But before that, him and his wife, Mary O'Brien, had a bunch of kids, and one of his kids was Victor Copps. And Vic Copps was a mayor of Hamilton, and it's who Copps Coliseum was named for. And he is a well-known, or was a well-known politician before he passed away. And his daughter is also a well-known politician. And I thought, well, that's crazy. You get all these farmers, and all of a sudden now there's politicians popping up. And I was still researching, and I thought, maybe there's something out there, maybe not. But I was going back to the Mannion line, and Michael and Ellen Mannion had a brother, Patrick. And Patrick, it was Patrick Mannion who married Mary Ann O'Brien. They had a son by the name of Robert James Mannion. Now, Robert, he was a physician. He went to school, he became a doctor, and then he went to World War I, and he served with, as a captain with the Canadian Medical Army Corps. And then after that, he got into politics. And he went on to be a member of the Canadian Parliament for Fort William and Rainy River from 1917 to 1925. And then for Fort William alone from 1925 to 1935. And then for London from 1938 to 1940. And then at the same time, from 1938 to 1940, he was also the leader of the opposition, which was the Conservative Party, against the Prime Minister of the time, which was William Lyon Mackenzie King.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know anything about him. I knew about Sheila.
Right. So those are all collateral relatives, but it was fun to find another politician in there. And somebody who was very well regarded at the time.
I have so many DNA matches to the Copps line. So many.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah.
And it looks like they mostly stayed in Ontario, around Haileybury and Fort William, which is Thunder Bay.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
Yeah, I got lost in the profile, so I just stopped when you were talking.
That's cool. I've been adding kids and adding kids and adding kids and reading parish registers. And fortunately, the parish registers up there are all quite legible and all in English. I only had one from Pembroke that was in French, which, I mean, they're all easy enough to translate. But yeah, it was fun times.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you to everybody. It's amazing.
Yes. Did we have any questions from the chat or any questions from any of us?
I see my son's here, Jason. He said, yes, I'm here.
Oh, I saw.
Hi, Jason.
Hi, Ellen's son.
I saw that pop up.
Yes, I'm here.
Didn't have any questions, just a few comments. Somebody was cheering on Canada, of course. Thank you, Susan.
Yeah, I was happy to find out that I was the first Canadian to be a guest. So that was cool.
Yay.
Yay, Canada.
We have a very strong Canadian contingent here.
So did we have any other things we wanted to talk about? Any interesting finds? Any comments, questions before? Or Ellen, did you have any questions or comments for us?
No, I just I don't know how you guys do all this. Well, I know how you do it, but I mean, the sourcing, I'm not sure how you do the sourcing part. And that's the part where I got hung up about how you, I know what a source is supposed to be. I'm just not sure how it looks. It's supposed to look in a WikiTree.
You can find any number of people to help you with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like this one of the fishmonger profile, all of his sources listed at the bottom of his profile with all of the reference tags, so you can easily click on it and know which source was for that fact.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure how you made them. So
it's all in the formatting of the text. It's It's a there's a learning
we do
curve.
have a learning curve, but it's not that hard. It's not that hard to learn.
And then, like, we have a very wonderful, generous community. I'm sure any of us would be more than welcome to help you or anybody who asks how to do anything on WikiTree. And then if we don't know how to do it, we can ask somebody else who knows how to do it.
Yeah, it was pretty hard to resist to have a peek, but I didn't.
A lot of our guests have said that they really didn't want to peek at their tree.
And then we did
Emma
have some...
was fantastic with the DNA.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I saw Ellen was saying that once that does get broken down.
Once I get my Thompson line and my Beaton line DNA proven, it should be off to the races. That's, you know.
Yeah, the huge line of French Canadian profiles to add. Yeah, and then we
learned that I don't know how to read French at all.
The good thing about the parish registers, though, is that they're made in a format. So as soon as you know some of the words, it's written in the same format every single time. It was like a verbatim every single record, and it's great.
And we
easy.
have some French-speaking WikiTreeers that can help.
A lot.
Yes.
Like Isabel, and that's the only one I can think of off the Danielle.
Danielle Liard.
Emma wrote to me at one point, she said, "You saw that they were both married before," and I went, "No."
Oh. Yeah, and then Eve was asking if you wanted to manage the profiles that they all created, because there were a lot of profiles that were made on WikiTree. Do you want to manage them?
So what does that mean when I agree to that?
So so on WikiTree nobody owns any profile really, because we share all the ancestors, but sometimes somebody will take on the responsibility of making sure that profile looks good. If there are any edits made, keeping an eye on it.
Oh,
so
I would like to do that.
You want to, since it's an ancestor of yours, if you wanted to have that as yours, to just kind of let it be free in the ether too.
Yeah, and one of the benefits too, Ellen, is that if a cousin comes along and says, "Oh, that's my ancestor too," they may say, "Oh, I want to send this profile manager a private message," and they can tell you, "Hey, this is my third great grandmother. You know, how are you related?" I mean, you'll get the messages in regards to it.
One thing I realized when this was all going on is I had signed up for the notifications, and I could just see the Middleborough, like all these, and thank you. So I didn't put any thank yous because I wasn't sure if I should, but now I'm going to go back and say thank you to everybody.
Yes, thank you.
Well, and you can also follow your surnames tags so that when you get your weekly newsletter, I don't know, maybe you already do that. You get your weekly newsletter and tells you other activity within that surname, and that can help you find people that are common.
I think that's why I was seeing all that, right? Because I had put my name down for all the surnames that I was really,
I have
not for Clark. I don't think I'm on the list for Clark.
You'd get a lot of those, I'm sure.
Okay,
that's great.
Unless we have any other questions or comments, while Tim is not here, we're still going to introduce him, and we kind of have some. We have answers to his questions.
We do. I guess I can play Tim. I'll try anyway. I did not put this together, but let me introduce him first. Tim is very well known in the genealogical world as an autosomal DNA specialist. He's also a family practitioner. He's an avid birder, and he loves science. So those are his avocations, but it seems like that's not true. The family practice thing is not an avocation. But he's very heavily involved in the DNA side of genealogy. He and Cece Moore, one of our early guests and the genetic genealogist, co-founded the Institute for Genetic Genealogy. He also co-founded and helps administrate the Mennonite DNA project, and he has studied Mennonite genealogy for decades. He has a number of resources on his Mennonite or on his webpage, but to do Mennonite research. So you can pop out there to that URL on the slide if you're looking for information on how to research Mennonites. And then Tim is also an ancestry ambassador for 23andMe, and he consults with them on how to implement their autosomal DNA features, from what I understand. And of course, he's an active member in ISOG.
Yay, Tim. Okay, so it's not going to be we have some questions answered for him.
Right.
So, how long, Tim, aka Julie, have you been actively involved in genealogy, and how did you become interested in the field?
Should I lower my voice? I won't. I started getting interested in genealogy when I was about 14 and was definitely a fairly serious genealogist by the time I was 16. My grandfather, Paul Youngman, was a major influence on my life. He wrote 2 books about our family history. One of these books chronicled the life of his father, Charles Youngman, who was a doctor in the small town of Harveyville, Kansas. The other book traced a portion of the lineage of his mother, Anna Brown Armstrong, whose ancestry is of interest in part because she descends from at least 2 people who were kidnapped by Indians. And they were adopted into the Wyandot Indian tribe, which I think is in Oklahoma. Tim's grandfather's first cousin, Ralph Armstrong, was also a very serious genealogist and was an inspiration to Tim. Tim says, my father's ancestry is almost entirely Low German Mennonite. So I began researching his ancestry when I was in high school. Alan Peters helped spark my interest in Mennonite genealogy in a very broad way. Alan has been very influential in almost all aspects of Mennonite genealogy, particularly in the development of the Mennonite genealogy database known as the Grandma Database. Alan kindly allowed me to visit him in California twice when I was in college and medical school. In 1996, my wife and I took a Mennonite tour of Ukraine to visit the villages where my father's ancestors had lived. And the trip had a profound impact on Tim.
Thank you, Tim, aka Julie, for that. That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah.
So he started young in the genealogy world. So, and then this Alan Peters and Mennonite. I don't know if anybody knows who that is, or.
Yeah, speak up if you do. We kind of had to put this together at the last minute because we found out that Tim wasn't going to be able to join us at the last minute. So please forgive us for our little bit of impromptu interviewing here.
But if anybody does have questions for Tim that they want to ask later, we can definitely shoot them over to him, and we should have him on next Wednesday. But we do have another question for Tim, Mindy.
And that would be, at which point did you decide to become involved in genetic genealogy?
Well, I attended the National Genealogical Society convention in Portland, Oregon in 2001. At that time, Scott Woodward and his associates at the BYU Center for Molecular Genealogy were collecting blood samples so that they could do DNA testing for genealogical purposes. The project sounded very interesting, and so I gave a blood sample to Scott Woodward, as well as a GEDCOM file that included my known ancestors. The Sorensen Molecular Genealogy Foundation was formed shortly after that in 2002. In 2004, Amelia Reimer started the Mennonite DNA project at Family Tree DNA, and I became actively involved in that project because I saw the potential for the Y chromosome and mitochondrial DNA testing to help solve Mennonite genealogical research questions. I then remembered that I had been tested by the SMGF and subsequently began extracting Mennonite Y chromosome and mitochondrial DNA results from the SMGF database. In December of 2005, I realized the potential that autosomal DNA testing held for Mennonite genealogy and began actively collecting Mennonite samples for the SMGF. My efforts, along with others who were also involved, led to the collection of DNA samples from about 2,000 Mennonites that were donated to the SMGF. The sale of the SMGF to Ancestry forced me to change my focus to other companies such as 23andMe and Family Tree DNA that are also doing autosomal DNA testing.
Cool. And so it's Lewis, who is a future guest star. We have do we have any Mennonite experts who are in the WikiTree challenge, Christine, that you know of? I think you're muted.
I don't know that. I looked at his tree briefly. I didn't see briefly where the Mennonites were, if he does have them in his tree. Because he's also part of that group in Saskatchewan. I think maybe that's what I was doing. I was trying to find Saskatchewan. But no, I don't have anybody so far that I know of.
We'll have to knock around a little bit. There might be. We have a new religions project getting organized. It's not really new, but we're kind of pulling things together to make it more formal. And so we might have some of that crop up in there.
And then we have one more question, more about, I guess, has genetic genealogy helped you break through any of your brick walls or solve a family mystery?
Yes. I've used autosomal DNA testing to establish the parentage of my great-great-great-grandfather, Jacob Youngman, who was born in 1823. The family story that my father has distant Jewish ancestry was confirmed by autosomal testing at 23andMe. And in the FTDNA database, I found a person who traces their ancestry back to northern Belgium, who is a very close match to my Y chromosome haplotype. This has led me to believe that this was the area my Janzen progenitor had been living prior to when he fled to Poland due to the persecution of the Mennonites, probably in the 1500s.
Cool. So that is our questionnaire for Tim. But we do have some slides about each side of his ancestry. So we have his paternal side.
Christine, do you tell us some about that?
I don't have any of the his whole paternal side wasn't filled out on WikiTree. He only had profiles for his mother's side. So I don't know that has changed in the last week. But yeah, everything was from there. That, European. What do I have? No, I don't have anything right now.
Yeah, and I just saw that, that those ones mentioned there, it was all Prussia and Poland and Russia and Germany.
Right.
And
somebody has been working on this.
Yeah. And like Kay Knight just said, that we already had 2 guests that were in a general area there. So that'll some of our people will have experience researching there. So that'll be good.
The fan chart. The fan club. Yes, yeah, so I'm sure we can get our. Go ahead. Oh, I said I'm sure we can get our experts again in for his paternal side for this. So.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of Russia, Prussia, Ukraine.
Mm-hmm. And then you were saying his mother's side is very fleshed out.
Yes,
pretty far back.
It is, and it goes very far back. I have profiles, a lot of early American profiles, a lot of profiles that a lot of the women don't have last names. So that's something that we'll definitely have to work on this week. I've got Massachusetts Bay profiles, PGM profiles, Mayflower. There's even a line that traces back to the Lincoln family. And there are some profiles that are under the U.S. President's project.
Cool.
Yeah. So there are profiles just about everywhere. Kentucky, Virginia, Indiana, Tennessee, Illinois, all basically anything on the eastern side of the states. I have a long list of profiles that need work or confirmation. So,
Well, I think it's going to be
it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and
Exciting
whatever the experience people have that are participating this week, trust me, you can find an area you can research.
Mhm.
There's just a little bit of everything there.
And there
Yeah,
is, not to leave anybody out, but we do have England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales as well.
And I
Just in case the English project didn't thought they would be off the hook this week.
never off the hook. Never.
So we'll be
Joan
looking
will never get
for the
rest.
England project and Frank and Peter and everybody
Mhm.
to help in again this week.
Yeah, maybe.
Can I predict that Maddie will be the top number one again?
No, we are hoping for someone new next week. So that
I'm
is our
going to
goal.
be number one this week because I'm actually registered. So I'm gonna be number one.
All right.
I'll do all the Illinois profiles, and then I'll be number one. I'm gonna compete with Sarah.
Excellent.
It'll be cool, but because I have family in Pennsylvania, Alabama. So who knows?
Right.
I mean,
And Kay had pointed out to me that there was a lot of overlap geographically with some of our other guests. So we will, at the end of the week, see if and how they are all connected.
yeah, maybe
So
we can
stay
get our
tuned.
gaps because I know some weeks we've been getting everybody closer and closer together with all of these weeks because we're filling in a lot of these nuclear relatives and getting more
Downlines,
people
yeah.
on WikiTree.
Yep.
So it's been awesome.
We got to find some more Canadians, so we got to get Ellen connected in here. So
Did you find anybody connected to, like, because you build out the tree and then eventually you connect with somebody? Did
Right.
we ever connect with anybody? No.
Yes.
I'm
Yes,
the
we
only
connected.
genealogist.
No, you got connected to the tree.
Wasn't
you're
there?
not
Oh, okay.
related. You're not genetically or genealogically related to any of our other guests so far.
But
Okay.
But
connected
some of our other
laterally.
guests are
But
definitely
to other
related
people
to
in
each
the
other.
tree, right? Okay.
Mhm.
good.
And I just want to point out we have another name here that we notice.
Ooh, Rob!
Yeah.
Hi,
Yeah,
Rob!
thank you,
Rob.
I couldn't see how I could answer.
You can't answer from here, unfortunately. But
Okay.
yeah, but I like it when our old guests are in the chat watching. That's always fun. Okay,
Well, I
so
will
did we
continue to
have
watch.
any last comments about Ellen or Tim? Questions, remarks, anything before we
For
head off?
anybody who is going to be working on Tim's week, I have a minor edit to do to the free space profile, and then there will be a long to-do list for everybody. So
I'm ready.
brew your coffee and get ready. We got lots of work to do.
Everybody is ready. I'm sure there are already people working. I don't
I'm
have
sure
any
there
doubts
are
in my
too.
mind.
Actually, when
No.
I just went back and looked at Tim's tree now, and somebody has done a lot of work to fill out all of his paternal lines. So that was all
In the last
completely
20 minutes or
blank
so.
last week. So, yeah.
Well, I want to thank everybody for working on mine.
Well, we
so
thank you
much.
for letting us take a dab at your tree.
Yeah, it was our
Thank
pleasure,
you.
Ellen. It really was.
There was
I
a
know
lot of
everybody-
chatter going on. I think everybody enjoyed it.
Everybody had a
Oh, that's
lot of
good.
fun. And
I'm
thank
going to be
you
reading
to
tonight.
thank you to our captains again. Thank you to all of our wonderful volunteers and everybody who's watching. Thank you, everyone. And don't forget, if you have never checked us out, go to wikitree.com. You can participate in the challenge if you want. April's already closed, but you can register for May. And then we have the clean-a-thon, the spring clean-a-thon for our empty week this month. Julie, Mindy, and I will be up at all hours for the most part. and it's going to be fun. So we will see you on Saturday for our weekly Saturday morning weekly update, and then next Wednesday where we wrap up Tim and start
Sherry.
Connie. No,
It's
Sherry.
Sherry Pat.
Sherry. I knew it was a C. I was close. So we will see you guys, and thank you again. We will see. Goodbye,
Bye.
everyone.